The stars had always been silent witnesses, scattered like diamonds across the endless black canvas of space. For centuries, distant civilizations whispered of Earth, a blue world cloaked in myths and legends. To them, humans were a storybook civilization, a delicate, fragile species, more suited for fairy tales than the harsh realities of interstellar conflict. They imagined a planet untouched by war, where creatures with soft hands and tender hearts dreamed beneath the sunlight, oblivious to the dangers lurking in the galaxy. They were wrong. No one truly knew what humans were capable of until the first warning came. Across the void, fleets of massive warships appeared on the edge of known space, their engines blazing like furious suns. They were built for conquest, for annihilation, and their sensors locked onto Earth with predatory precision. The observers, those who had always laughed at humanity's supposed fragility, thought the planet's defenses were laughable, a relic of a simpler, more innocent age. They believed a single volley from their weapons would reduce the fabled blue planet to ash. But Earth had secrets they hadn't counted on. The humans, so often dismissed as storytellers and dreamers, had been preparing, quietly in hidden shipyards and shadowed orbital stations. Engineers and strategists had been weaving a network of resilience and power. Ships were constructed not in the grandiose designs of alien empires, but with ingenuity born from necessity. Each vessel carried a spark of human tenacity, a reflection of a species that refused to bow, even when the odds were stacked impossibly against them. As the alien fleets approached, their communications broadcast with smug certainty. Earth's command centers remained calm. There was no panic, no flurry of fear-driven orders. Instead, a single directive pulsed through the human networks: hold fast and strike when the moment is right. The ships weren't just metal and weaponry, they were symbols of human will, of determination forged in hardship, of countless generations who had survived calamity after calamity. The universe may have underestimated them, but Earth's defenders carried something far more potent than technology: strategy, courage, and an instinct for survival that had been honed over millennia. The first encounter was more than a clash of firepower. It was a revelation. Aliens who had imagined Earth as a playground for easy conquest were met with precision strikes that seemed almost impossible. Every move the humans made was calculated, every maneuver a trap laid with care. The warships, though smaller and fewer in number, moved with a synchronicity and daring that defied expectations. Observers watched, stunned, as alien vessels that had once been feared across light years were torn apart by what they had dismissed as primitive machines. Yet for all the victories, there was a tension that gripped every human command post. They knew the alien fleets would not be deterred by a single encounter, no matter how devastating the losses. Larger, deadlier warships loomed just beyond the horizon of sensors, bristling with weapons and unimaginable firepower. Each decision carried weight beyond measure, and one misstep could shatter the fragile balance that allowed Earth to stand its ground. Every officer, every engineer, every pilot understood the stakes: the survival of their home, the stories of their ancestors, and the future of humanity itself rested on the edge of a blade. And in the midst of this chaos, the galaxy was watching. Civilizations that had long doubted humans, that had whispered of them as fairy tales and myths, now trembled at the possibility that Earth's defenders might not only survive, but dominate the battlefield with a ferocity they had never imagined. The warships had jumped into the fray, and the humans were ready. But even as the first volleys lit up the void, there were questions left unanswered. How deep did Earth's hidden power run? What strategies were yet to be revealed? And could humanity truly withstand the full might of an interstellar armada determined to crush them? The tension hung in the void like a storm waiting to break, and the answer was nowhere in sight. Every ship, every pilot, every heartbeat mattered. The story of Earth's defiance was just beginning, and the galaxy was about to learn that some fairy tales are far more terrifying, far more real than anyone had ever imagined. The moments after the first strike were eerily quiet, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. In the dimly lit control rooms, crews hunched over consoles, their eyes scanning the endless streaks of light and shadow that marked the ongoing battle. Each human aboard the warships knew that victory was far from assured. The enemy was relentless, their formations shifting with uncanny precision, as though some unseen intelligence guided every movement. Yet there was a confidence among the humans, quiet but resolute, rooted in more than training. It came from understanding what they were defending, what had been entrusted to them over generations. The history of Earth had always been a story of survival against odds that seemed insurmountable. Long before the stars became a battlefield, humanity had endured plagues, wars, famines, and natural disasters that tested every instinct for survival. Each challenge left behind lessons, innovations, and a stubborn resilience that refused to die. Now, that same resilience manifested in the ships that danced through space, dodging alien volleys and striking at points no one expected. These were not just machines, they were extensions of the human spirit, each pilot and engineer a testament to centuries of problem-solving under pressure. Amid the chaos, the command centers began to reveal fragments of the enemy's strategy. The aliens, as advanced as they were, operated on patterns that could be predicted. Every empire, no matter how powerful, left traces of its logic behind. Analysts in orbit worked tirelessly, piecing together signals, predicting maneuvers, and feeding those predictions into the pilot's systems. The humans relied on intuition as much as data, their choices a combination of experience and instinct honed through countless simulations. The tension in the control rooms was electric, but so was the focus. Every decision mattered, and the smallest insight could turn the tide. Beyond the battlefield, Earth itself seemed to respond. Cities and spaceports had been prepared in secret for decades, built to support both industry and defense. Hidden stations, cloaked in shadow and shielded from sensors, housed experimental technologies that even the humans were unsure they fully understood. These were weapons of necessity, designed to level the playing field against an enemy whose power had once seemed untouchable. Engineers moved with urgency, testing systems and recalibrating defenses, aware that the alien fleet would not wait for them to be ready. The planet's survival depended on precision, timing, and the courage of people willing to risk everything in the unknown. Among the crews, there were stories that had long been whispered. Pilots who had survived impossible odds. Engineers who had devised systems thought impractical, strategists who had anticipated threats before they appeared. They were ordinary humans by the measure of everyday life, yet extraordinary in the crucible of war. Bombs formed quickly in such conditions. Trust was not given lightly, but once earned it became unbreakable. There was a quiet pride in their eyes, a shared understanding that they were standing at the center of history. The galaxy had underestimated Earth for centuries, but that underestimation was about to be costly. The alien fleets, though immense, began to show signs of hesitation. Their formations wavered under the unexpected resilience of Earth's forces. Reports of destroyed ships and unanticipated counterattacks filtered back through the human networks, sparking both hope and caution. Every victory was tempered by the knowledge that the enemy would adapt. They were relentless, and their numbers were vast. The humans understood that the war was not won in moments of triumph, but in the quiet preparation, the constant vigilance, and the courage to act when the stakes were highest. As the battle unfolded, shadows of a deeper mystery emerged. Signals intercepted from the alien command hinted at an unknown agenda, a goal beyond mere conquest. Some in the human command suspected that Earth was not just a target, but a test. Something about humanity had drawn the attention of forces beyond comprehension, and the reason remained hidden. Was it their resilience, their ingenuity, or something else entirely? No one knew, but every encounter, every strike, every calculated risk seemed to ripple through a larger, unseen plan. The sense of watching something far greater than themselves only intensified the resolve of those defending the planet. Amid the stars, human eyes caught glimpses of alien warships that were unlike any other ships that shimmered. With technology that defied description, moving as if alive, responding to threats before they appeared. The humans did not falter, but the questions these ships raised hung in every conversation, in every calculation, in every anxious glance at the radar screens. There was an unspoken truth. The universe was larger, stranger, and more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. Earth's survival would require more than courage or skill. It would demand adaptability, insight, and the willingness to confront mysteries that had no easy answers. And so, as the stars lit up with the streaks of human and alien firepower, the galaxy held its breath once more. The warships had entered the fray, and the humans were standing firm, but the story was far from over. Each passing moment revealed new threats, deeper secrets, and challenges that tested not only their strength but their understanding of what it meant to be human. The battle for Earth had only just begun, and the universe waited to see if a species long dismissed as a fairy tale could redefine the rules of survival, courage, and power among the stars. The battle line stretched across light years, and each human ship carried more than weapons. They carried the weight of their entire species. In one sector, a small squadron moved like shadows against the alien fleet, threading through volleys of energy that could tear a vessel apart in seconds. Their mission was not just attack, but reconnaissance. Hidden in the chaos, they gathered information about the enemy's formations, relaying coordinates, weaknesses, and unusual anomalies back to command. Every pilot knew that a single misstep could mean death, yet there was a fierce focus in their eyes, an unspoken understanding that the survival of Earth rested on their precision and courage. On the planet below, engineers and scientists worked feverishly in underground bunkers. The surface cities had been evacuated long ago, leaving behind only the skeletal framework of Earth's defenses. But in these hidden labs, humanity's ingenuity was being tested in real time. Weapons that could bend physics, shields that reacted faster than thought, and communication networks that could anticipate enemy strategies were being pushed to their limits. Some systems functioned perfectly. Others threatened to fail spectacularly. Every malfunction became a lesson, every breakthrough a spark of hope. Yet there was no time to celebrate. The alien fleet was relentless, and their next strike could arrive before the humans had a chance to fully understand what they were facing. Meanwhile, aboard the largest human warship, the flagship, a different kind of tension simmered. Commanders debated tactics, their voices calm but edged with urgency. There were disagreements over strategy, arguments over whether to risk a small contingent for a critical strike, and debates about the morality of using weapons that could permanently alter entire regions of space. Yet every discussion carried a shared understanding. There was no alternative. They had to push forward even if the cost was unimaginable. Each decision felt like a gamble on a scale that no human had ever imagined, yet every choice shaped the unfolding story of Earth's defense. The alien commanders, equally meticulous, were not blind to human resilience. Their fleets shifted constantly, probing for weaknesses, testing the humans' limits. In intercepted communications, subtle hints of panic could be detected. Unexpected losses, the unpredictability of human tactics, the sheer audacity of their counterattacks. The aliens had never faced an opponent quite like this, a species that seemed to turn every setback into opportunity, every disadvantage into strategy. For the first time, some alien observers whispered doubts, questions that had no easy answers. Could a species so often underestimated truly outmatch them in a war that spanned the stars? On isolated outposts, small human detachments faced their own tests. Cut off from the main fleet, with communication lines damaged or destroyed, they were forced to improvise. Engineers rigged makeshift defenses from scavenged materials. Pilots took daring shortcuts through asteroid fields, and ground crews coordinated strikes with precision born of desperation. Each success was a lifeline, each failure a stark reminder of mortality. And yet, even in isolation, the humans adapted, finding strength in ingenuity, in community, and in the belief that they were defending something worth more than life itself. Back on the flagship, one pilot reported seeing strange energy anomalies in the path of an advancing enemy fleet. Others noted ships moving in ways that defied conventional physics, almost as if they were alive. The engineers scrambled to analyze the data, trying to determine whether these were new weapons, advanced alien AI, or something else entirely. Every revelation raised more questions than answers. Every unexpected variable forced humans to adapt on the fly, testing their courage, resourcefulness, and the limits of their technology. Even as the battle raged, personal stories unfolded in the background. Crews formed tight bonds, relying on one another not just for survival but for emotional support. A pilot who had lost her squadron found herself paired with a rookie, teaching them maneuvers while fighting off a relentless barrage. Engineers shared whispered jokes and small acts of kindness in the midst of chaos, reminders of the human heart at the center of the war. These moments, fleeting and fragile, were as crucial as any weapon system. They grounded humanity in empathy and resolve, giving them a reason to keep fighting. Through all these layers, the battles, the strategy, the science, and the personal struggles, the tension never eased. The alien fleets pressed on, relentless, adaptive, and overwhelming in scale. Yet humans, underestimated for centuries, responded with cunning, courage, and innovation. Every engagement revealed more of the enemy's secrets, but also hinted at deeper dangers, larger forces at work, and challenges that could not yet be fully grasped. The story of Earth's defense had grown far beyond a single battle. It was now a multi-layered conflict, testing the limits of human ingenuity, endurance, and willpower. And as stars streaked past, as warships fired and exploded in bursts of fire and energy, it was clear that the true battle, the one that would decide the fate of Earth, was still unfolding. No one knew what the next move would bring, or whether humanity could survive the next wave of attacks. The warships had jumped into the fray, but the heart of the conflict, the mystery at its core, remained unresolved. Every human and alien alike waited for the next turn, the next revelation, the next moment that could change the universe forever. The void of space was no longer silent. The steady hum of engines, the sudden flare of energy discharges, and the distant thrum of destroyed vessels filled every human vessel with a mix of fear and exhilaration. Each pilot knew that at any moment the next attack could tear their ship apart. Sensors blinked furiously, alerting crews to threats approaching from every vector. Alien warships moved with lethal precision, their weapons capable of reducing entire fleets to fragments in seconds. The humans had adapted, but the enemy's relentless tactics made each move feel like a gamble on the edge of a knife. In the flagship's command room, tension was at its peak. The main screens displayed the alien fleet's movements, shifting formations that seemed impossible to predict. Analysts shouted coordinates and potential threat vectors, while strategists debated whether to commit reserves to a risky counterattack. Every decision carried weight beyond comprehension. A single miscalculation could cascade into catastrophic losses. And yet, amidst the chaos, there was a glimmer of opportunity. Small gaps in the enemy's formation, weaknesses that only human intuition could exploit, suggested that the tide could turn, but only if every pilot executed their orders flawlessly. Below deck, engineers raced to stabilize overtaxed systems. Shields were flickering under repeated strikes, weapon batteries overheated, and communication lines began to lag under the constant barrage of data. Every crew member felt the strain, but the work continued without pause. Improvisation had become second nature. Makeshift repairs, recalibrated targeting systems, and rapid software adjustments allowed the ships to continue fighting, even as the aliens pressed their advantage. Sweat and determination marked every movement, a testament to human endurance under conditions no one had imagined possible. Meanwhile, scouts in isolated sectors faced dangers no one else could see. They maneuvered through asteroid belts, evaded stealth ships, and intercepted alien communications that hinted at hidden strategies. One scout ship reported an unusual energy signature, larger than anything recorded before, moving toward a densely populated human sector. The warning was immediate, but the path to intercept it was treacherous. Pilots knew they would be outnumbered and outgunned, but they also understood that hesitation could cost thousands of lives. Fear and determination intertwined as they prepared to face the unknown, knowing the outcome could alter the course of the entire war. On Earth, civilians watched from hidden shelters, monitoring the battle through flickering holographic feeds. The planet's cities were silent, evacuated in anticipation of the coming strikes. Yet the people could feel the weight of every decision made above them. Scientists and engineers coordinated from underground complexes, each breakthrough or misstep reverberating across the war effort. Rumors of strange alien phenomena, ships that seemed almost alive, and signals that hinted at an intelligence beyond comprehension created a quiet tension even among those far from the front line. Humanity had survived wars and disasters before, but this was different. This was a test on a cosmic scale. In the midst of the conflict, personal stories unfolded with urgency. A pilot who had narrowly survived a previous skirmish took the lead in guiding a damaged squadron through enemy fire. Their decisions were instinctive, born of countless hours of training and the weight of responsibility for their comrades. In another sector, engineers worked in shifts to maintain failing propulsion systems, arguing over priorities while their own exhaustion threatened to overwhelm them. These human moments, fear, courage, desperation, and determination, were woven into the fabric of the battle, showing that the fight was not just for survival, but for the values, ingenuity, and spirit that defined humanity. The aliens were adapting too, sending reinforcements in waves that tested every human defense. Their tactics became increasingly unpredictable, with strikes designed to lure human forces into traps or exhaust resources. The humans responded with equally unconventional measures, using terrain, debris fields, and unexpected maneuvers to offset the enemy's numerical advantage. Every exchange of fire revealed new complexities, new dangers, and new possibilities. The stakes were no longer just survival. They were a measure of whether humanity could outthink and outmaneuver a foe that had never considered them a serious threat. As the battle raged, the mystery of the alien agenda deepened. Intercepted transmissions hinted at a larger operation, something beyond the immediate attacks on Earth. Analysts speculated that the planet was not only a target, but part of a greater experiment, a test of species, resilience, or strategic capability. Some suggested that the aliens were probing for weaknesses to exploit in other systems, or perhaps searching for a force they could not yet comprehend. These uncertainties created an undercurrent of tension that ran through every command decision, every maneuver, and every encounter. In the outer sectors, human and alien warships clashed in sequences that resembled an intricate cosmic dance. Explosions illuminated the darkness, sending fragments of metal and fire spiraling into the void. Pilots risked everything to protect civilians, intercept enemy advances, or gather intelligence on mysterious alien vessels. The human forces were relentless, but the pressure was mounting. The aliens were consolidating their strength, preparing for a decisive strike that could overwhelm even the most daring human strategies. The tension in every sector was palpable. Every crew member understood that the next moments could redefine the war or end it entirely. And as the fleets moved closer to critical positions, as energy shields faltered and communications crackled under stress, the universe seemed to hold its breath. The humans had adapted, survived, and countered with ingenuity. But the looming presence of the alien armada promised that the coming engagement would demand everything from them. Every resource, every skill, every ounce of courage would be tested. The story of Earth's defiance had reached its crescendo, and the climax was approaching, a moment where strategy, willpower, and the human spirit would collide with forces far beyond imagination, leaving the outcome uncertain and every heartbeat on the edge of fear and hope. Just when the humans thought they had a grasp on the enemy's strategy, an entirely new threat emerged from the shadows of the cosmos. Sensors flickered violently, then stabilized, revealing a fleet unlike anything seen before. These ships moved differently, faster, more fluid, almost organic in their behavior. They didn't follow the predictable lines of the main alien forces. Instead, they weaved through the void as if reading the humans' every maneuver in real time. Analysts scrambled to identify them, but there was no match in any database. Every pilot on the front lines realized immediately this was no ordinary reinforcement. The enemy had been holding back something far deadlier, a weapon or intelligence they had hidden until now, and its arrival changed everything. Command centers across the fleet erupted in tension. Orders were shouted and countermanded as strategists attempted to adapt. The flagship's commander stared at the displays, noting the unusual formation of the new fleet. It was almost as if the alien forces had learned from every encounter so far, anticipating the humans' best tactics. Each move the humans made was countered with unnerving precision, forcing them into defensive maneuvers that left them exposed elsewhere. The balance of the battle, tenuous as it had been, was tipping in a way that threatened to unravel months of careful preparation. In the isolated sectors, small human detachments felt the impact immediately. Scouts who had been mapping asteroid fields and debris zones for safe passage suddenly found themselves targeted by these advanced ships. Pilots dodged impossible attacks, pulling stunts that defied conventional physics just to stay alive. Yet for every narrow escape, reports came in of ships destroyed or disabled, their crews forced to eject into the cold emptiness of space. The humans were facing not just overwhelming numbers, but an intelligence that seemed to anticipate their every move, turning the battlefield into a web of lethal surprises. Below Earth's surface, engineers and scientists reacted with both fear and determination. The anomalies these new ships presented were unlike anything they had encountered. Shields were no longer sufficient, standard weaponry was less effective, and their data suggested that the enemy could manipulate energy fields in ways humans had only theorized. Some engineers proposed experimental tactics, pushing technologies that had been theoretical into action immediately. Risk was unavoidable. Improvisation was mandatory. Every choice carried the weight of countless lives, and the looming presence of the new fleet magnified the urgency to adapt. Amid the chaos, the mystery of the alien strategy deepened. Intercepted signals indicated that this second fleet was not simply a backup, it had a mission entirely its own. Analysts speculated that it was designed to destabilize human communications and draw forces away from critical zones. Others suspected it was a probe for something far larger, a test to see how humans would respond under pressure. The truth remained hidden, and that uncertainty fueled anxiety throughout every sector. Humans realized they were no longer reacting merely to an attack. They were navigating an intricate plan meant to force errors, to exploit hesitation, to test resilience. On the battlefield, personal stories of courage intensified. Pilots in damaged squadrons coordinated with engineers in orbit to execute desperate strikes against the new fleet. Some were flying with systems barely functional, relying on instinct and training to survive. One pilot, narrowly escaping a trap, found themselves guiding a rookie through a sequence that required split-second timing and total trust. Each successful maneuver was a temporary relief, each mistake a vivid reminder of mortality. These moments were punctuated by flashes of energy from distant explosions, underscoring the fragility of their situation. Meanwhile, the aliens were not the only unknown variable. Signals from deep space hinted at yet another presence, a force beyond the main fleets, moving closer to the conflict. Commanders debated whether it was an ally, a third enemy, or an anomaly created by the chaos of the battle itself. The uncertainty added a new layer of tension. Humans had already stretched their resources to the limit, and the possibility of a third, unknown factor threatened to overwhelm their carefully coordinated strategies. Every crew member understood that the war was no longer just a test of firepower. It was a test of perception, intuition, and the human capacity to adapt under impossible circumstances. As the new alien fleet pressed its advantage, old vulnerabilities became exposed. Supply lines were strained, repair stations overwhelmed, and critical systems on several human ships began to falter. Pilots had to make choices between holding position and retreating to maintain fleet cohesion. Engineers worked frantically, improvising repairs and recalibrations while monitoring for patterns in the new enemy's attacks. Every second counted, every decision mattered, and the pressure of the unknown weighed heavily on every human mind. In the command center, the flagship's strategist finally voiced a grim observation. The aliens had escalated the war in a way that no one had anticipated. Humanity was no longer just defending Earth, they were engaged in a test of endurance, adaptability, and courage unlike anything in recorded history. Every sector of space was a potential battlefield, every unknown variable a threat, and the next move could determine whether Earth survived or became another lost world. The stakes had risen beyond imagination. Pilots, engineers, and strategists alike felt it in their bones. The climax was approaching. The moment when everything they had fought for would be challenged by forces beyond comprehension. The new fleet had appeared, mysteries deepened, and the human spirit was being tested in every conceivable way. Every heartbeat, every maneuver, every decision brought them closer to the point of no return, and the universe waited silently for the storm that was about to break. The battle had reached its breaking point. Across sectors of space, the human and alien fleets collided in a storm of light and fire, each strike reverberating through the void like the pulse of the universe itself. Pilots twisted and turned through debris fields, dodging energy blasts and fractured hulls, relying on instinct honed by desperation and courage. The new alien fleet, the one that had seemed almost untouchable, pressed relentlessly, but humanity refused to yield. Every maneuver, every strike, every sacrifice converged toward a single moment, the climax of a war that had tested every skill, every instinct, every ounce of human determination. The flagship became the focal point of the conflict. Its shields flickered under the continuous onslaught, weapon systems overloaded, but it held position at the heart of the battle. Commanders coordinated a desperate counteroffensive, calling on every surviving squadron, every scout, and every hidden weapon system. Humans worked as one organism, instincts and intellect synchronized in a way that left no room for hesitation. The alien fleets, for all their power and technology, struggled to adapt to a species that moved unpredictably, strategically, and with an unshakable resolve. In one critical sector, a squadron executed a daring maneuver through a narrow asteroid field, emerging directly behind the new alien fleet. Using weapons improvised for maximum impact, they struck at the fleet's core, destabilizing the enemy's energy matrix. Explosions tore through the alien ships, fracturing the formation and sending their advanced vessels spinning into chaos. Every pilot knew that victory would not come without cost. Ships were lost. Comrades were gone, but the humans had gained the upper hand. The tide of battle began to turn, slowly, methodically, as the aliens were forced onto the defensive for the first time. Meanwhile, on Earth, underground command centers monitored the war with bated breath. Engineers pushed experimental technologies to their limits, deploying energy nets and orbital defenses in coordination with the fleet. For the first time, the humans could anticipate the aliens' movements, countering attacks with precision, protecting critical sectors and reclaiming positions that had seemed lost. Humanity's ingenuity, the very quality that had long been underestimated, was now the deciding factor in the struggle for survival. As the fleets clashed, an unexpected development occurred. The energy anomalies that had baffled analysts revealed their purpose. The new alien fleet, it turned out, was not autonomous. It had been controlled by an advanced AI embedded within the main alien command. The AI had been learning, adapting, exploiting perceived weaknesses in human tactics. But human intuition, creativity, and unpredictability proved stronger than algorithms. By combining improvisation with calculated risk, the humans had found ways to exploit the AI's patterns, forcing it to overextend and miscalculate. The revelation sent shockwaves through command centers. Earth had won not just with weapons, but with something no A could anticipate: the human mind itself. Even as the main alien fleets began to retreat, a final threat emerged. From the darkness of deep space, a massive vessel, larger than any previously seen, moved toward the battle. Its design defied physics, its energy signature overwhelming. Analysts speculated it was a command ship, or perhaps a weapon designed to obliterate entire sectors. Panic rippled through the remaining forces, but humans had no choice but to confront it. Pilots and engineers coordinated their remaining resources, preparing for a strike that could end the war or end them all. In a tense sequence of precision strikes, the human fleet targeted the massive vessel's weak points. Bombardments, energy pulses, and coordinated attacks from multiple angles gradually destabilized its systems. Explosions lit the void as the ship faltered, fragments breaking off into space. But just when the humans thought the climax had been reached, a shocking revelation came. The massive ship wasn't designed to destroy, it was a transport. From it emerged a figure, an alien entity, singular and intelligent, signaling a desire to communicate rather than fight. The war had been a test, yes, but not simply of weapons or tactics. The aliens had been observing, measuring the human species in ways they had never attempted with any other civilization. The human commanders paused, stunned. The enemy, once a faceless armada, now revealed intent, intelligence, and caution. Communication channels opened, hesitant, as both sides navigated this unexpected development. The warships had jumped into the fray, the battle had reached its peak, and the humans had proved their resilience, ingenuity, and courage, but now the stakes had shifted entirely. Victory had been achieved in survival, but the larger question remained: what did the aliens truly want, and what consequences would follow from the humans' unexpected triumph? As silence fell across sectors for the first time in months, the survivors of the fleet watched the massive alien figure, uncertainty and relief mingling in their expressions. Humans had endured, adapted, and overcome a force that had once seemed invincible. Yet, in the shadows beyond the fleet, other mysteries lingered. Signals hinted at distant movements, new forces that might have been activated by the war itself. The story of Earth's defiance had reached its climax, but the universe still held secrets, and the human spirit, as always, would be tested again. The stars, once silent witnesses, now seemed to pulse with possibility. Humanity had won the day, but the final twist, the arrival of a singular, intelligent alien presence, reminded everyone that the galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. The warships had done their part, courage had prevailed, and Earth had survived, but the adventure, the true story of what it meant to be human among the stars, was far from over. The aftermath of the battle was a strange, almost surreal calm. Space, once alight with explosions and streaks of energy, now held only the soft glimmer of distant stars. Human ships drifted among the wreckage of the alien fleets, their crews exhausted but alive. The toll had been high, ships lost, brave pilots gone, but humanity had endured. The warships, once underestimated, had proven that Earth's defenders were not just survivors, but a species capable of ingenuity, courage, and resilience on a scale the galaxy had never expected. The massive alien vessel that had revealed its true nature hovered silently near the human fleet. Communications had opened, tentative at first, and then clearer. The alien intelligence, singular and ancient, spoke of observation, testing, and understanding. Humans listened, cautious but attentive. What had been perceived as aggression had, in part, been a measure of humanity's potential. Earth's resistance, its ability to adapt, and the ingenuity of its people had not only surprised the aliens, they had earned a grudging respect. For the first time, the galaxy saw humans not as a fragile myth, but as a force to be reckoned with. Back on Earth, celebrations were subdued but heartfelt. Survivors returned to their homes, repairing the cities, and restoring life to a planet that had held its breath during the darkest hours. Engineers and scientists continued their work, now tasked with understanding the alien technologies left behind and integrating them into human systems. Every innovation, every breakthrough carried the weight of what had been learned in battle, the importance of adaptation, collaboration, and thinking beyond conventional limits. The lessons of survival would shape the future, ensuring that Earth would be prepared for challenges yet unknown. Among the human fleet, bonds forged in battle endured. Pilots shared stories of impossible escapes. Engineers recounted moments where ingenuity had saved lives, and command teams reflected on decisions that had made the difference between survival and annihilation. The sense of unity, of shared purpose, lingered long after the last alien ship had retreated. Humanity had learned that courage was not just about fighting, it was about trusting one another, thinking creatively, and refusing to yield even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Even the isolated sectors, cut off during the height of the battle, reconnected. Scouts and detached crews returned with reports of survival, ingenuity, and unexpected alliances formed with smaller alien contingents who had broken away from the main fleet. These interactions hinted at new possibilities. Perhaps the universe was not simply a place of conquest and war, but a network of civilizations capable of dialogue, negotiation, and mutual respect if approached with courage and integrity. Humanity had not only survived, it had begun to redefine its place among the stars. Yet the shadow of mystery remained. The alien intelligence had hinted at larger cosmic forces, movements that were still beyond human comprehension. There were signals that suggested other observers, other civilizations watching, waiting to see how humans would respond. While Earth had won the day, the universe had shown that it was vast, unpredictable, and full of challenges that would require more than courage alone. The lessons of this battle were clear. Survival demanded ingenuity, adaptability, and above all, unity in the face of uncertainty. On board the flagship, the human commanders convened one final time. The war had been fought, lives had been risked, and history had been rewritten. They reflected not on the glory of battle, but on the resilience of humanity, the capacity to endure, to innovate, and to rise above every expectation. The galaxy had underestimated Earth for centuries, and now the precedent had been set. Humans were no longer the fragile species whispered about in fairy tales. They were thinkers, fighters, and survivors ready to meet the universe on their own terms. As the fleet slowly returned to orbit around Earth, the sense of accomplishment was tempered with humility. The battle had been won, but the universe remained an endless expanse of unknowns. Humanity's place among the stars was no longer accidental, it was earned. Every pilot, engineer, scientist, and commander understood that the journey had only just begun. The warships that had jumped into the fray were not just tools of survival, they were symbols of the human spirit, the embodiment of ingenuity, courage, and determination. And so Earth breathed once more. The skies were quiet, the oceans reflected the stars, and cities, once evacuated, began to pulse with life again. Humanity had faced annihilation and emerged stronger, more united, and wiser. Yet the final twist lingered in the minds of those who had survived. The alien intelligence had not fully revealed its purpose, and distant signals suggested that the story of humanity among the stars was far from over. The victory was real, profound, and deserved, but the universe, vast and mysterious, still held challenges, tests, and adventures yet to come. In the end, the takeaway was clear. Humanity had proven itself against overwhelming odds, not through sheer firepower alone, but through intelligence, courage, and an unyielding will to survive. The warships had returned from the fray, but the story of Earth and its people was only beginning. The stars awaited, and humans, once thought fragile and mythic, were ready to meet them.